Welcome back to the Hero's Journey podcast. We're on episode 39. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm back here with more Golden Age comics. We're into 1944, second half of that year, as we are working our way through it. Just a little note, on a couple of days from now, on April 4th, the website Go Collect will have a blog post about this fun little podcast here, the Hero's Journey Project. So hopefully that'll bring more people to the podcast. We can have dialogue going and build more of a community. So it's not just myself and Anthony having dialogue in the comments. So let's see what comics I've been looking at this week. All right, so first up, we have Adventure Comics number 93. This is from DC, August, September 1944 issue. Like, I'm not always a big fan of these Adventure Comics covers, but this one's kind of fun. Got Sandman and Sandy riding some sort of creature, lizard, dinosaur-looking thing. Why not? I can always appreciate something that's fun. So this is the first 52-page issue, and that's down from 60 pages. So a little page reduction there. In their story, Sandman and Sandy, they catch a thief using a sleepatorium as an alibi to commit his crime. So essentially, people use this sleepatorium as a place to go and get some much needed rest when they can't sleep at home. They'll play different kinds of music and sounds and create ambiance and just make sure you get a good night's sleep. Starman catches his astronomer friend opening a foolproof safe to prove to the owner that astronomy has a lot of uses, except some cooks try to help themselves to the loot as well. So they tried to pull a prank and didn't work out. For this book, you have a recent CGC 6.5 sale from February of 2020 for $336. That's not bad for a mid-grade Golden Age book. All right, Batman number 24. This is the August-September 1944 issue from DC. It's an interesting cover. I like it. Stands out, good cover. Why not? Batman and Robin are hypnotically projected back to ancient Rome, where the criminals from the past are up to the same tricks as the present. Now, this is the first appearance of Professor Carter Nichols. Now, he's not like a villain or anything too crazy in the Batman universe, but he does. So here, look, I pulled up the panel. So this is the first panel that Professor Carter Nichols shows up in the comics. And essentially, he's the guy who hypnotically projects our fearsome duo or fearless duo, into the past. And I believe he'll be back for a few dozen appearances in the Batman series going forward. And I believe he does have some sort of event, time travel, discovers it or works on it. So we'll see more of those kind of adventures later on. In the next Batman story, Batman and Robin uncover a scheme where rich crooks get smuggled out of the country before they can be arrested. And after that, you have Alfred's solo story. Alfred memorizes the faces of criminals in a police lineup, but gets them all confused and somehow still manages to catch some crooks. And finally, Batman and Robin follow Tweedledee and Tweedledum to a small town where they are elected mayor and attempt to fleece the locals with a fake gold mine. So you have Tweedledee and Tweedledum. So these are the major villains that appear in this issue. Plus you have the first appearance of Professor Carter Nichols. Not sure if that appearance is really that much of a big draw, but there was a recent CGC 8.0 sale from March of 2021 for $1,500 for this book. So that's a fair size amount for this book. My guess is you got a good looking cover. You've got Professor Carter Nichols, Tweedledee Tweedledum. I assume those are the elements that made this a good draw. And then the slide of Professor Carter Nichols, right? All right, Blue Beetle. So here's Blue Beetle, number 33. This is from Fox. This is the August 1944 issue. Look, I feel bad. It's kind of giving Blue Beetle such a hard time, but good God, these stories are such a mess. And I was trying to read, I try not to read too much background information about these characters and what's going on, because I'm trying to discover what's going on, discover their progress, their evolution, their journey as I go. Right. So I don't want spoilers. I don't want too much background. I don't want too much fun. But I had to read about this because Blue Beetle, honestly, goodness, this guy, like look at this, look at him on the cover there. He's the size of a skyscraper there. And this is apparently just the writers were. I just saw one quick little throwaway line on a website somewhere that said, look, the writers just sort of took liberty and gave them random powers whenever they felt like it. And really, when you're reading these issues, this is exactly what it feels like right here on the cover. It's not like the other, comic issues where you see something that's, sort of out of place. And then when you read the story, you find out, okay, it's just normal, fine. But and you'll see, like you'd see in the issue, the guy is this guy of the size of a skyscraper all of a sudden, randomly. Why not? Okay, so let's look into his book real quick, and then I'll show you a couple slides that have some panels from the book so you see what I'm talking about. So Blue Beetle and Spunky fly to Tangier to investigate the death of an FBI agent. And now I gotta say, I hate the name. I hate that he named his sidekick Spunky, or the writers did. He was originally named Sparky, and somehow he's Spunky now. It's just terrible. So now Dan Garrett also takes these, he works for the FBI, but he's also like a beat cop in New York. Like, I don't know how that even works. Like I don't understand how you can just all of a sudden, oh, sorry, Sarge, I'm not going to show up for my shift tonight. The FBI needs me. Oh, okay, no problem. You just go on there. How does that even make sense? Again, feel badly for beating up on Blue Beetle all the time, but they make it such an easy target. Blue Beetle looks into the murder of a scientist who invented a formula for cell division, and Blue Beetle is exposed to it, creating a clone of himself, although later in the story, the clone is murdered. So who knows? Maybe later on, this could be a possible retcon for some sort of clone saga. I don't know, but if some modern day writer picks up on it, you may find yourself digging for this issue in some backbins. Blue Beetle helps to repel the attack on New York City by the people of Aquatis, Blue Beetle helps to repel the attack on New York City by the people of Aquatis, a once underwater city that has risen to the surface. You have a recent CGC 7.5 sale from May of 2019 for $144. All right, so let's see. Okay, so here's a page from the Blue Beetle comic book. And I just got to say, like, sorry. So I'm going to tell you what's going on. So you got Dan Garrett and Spunky walking around, trying to find some clues, trying to solve the mystery. And so they're walking around, they're plain clothes. And then all of a sudden, near the bottom left panel says, "This looks like a job for the Blue Beetle." And then, so a moment later, Dan and his young comrade Spunky emerge as Spunky and the Blue Beetle. Like, so they both went away to get changed. They both come back. You got one guy in the Blue Beetle outfit. The other guy is still in his shirt and khakis. Like, what? So Spunky doesn't even have uniform anymore. Just, sorry, I forgot to pack it, Blue Beetle. I'm just going to go like this. Maybe no one will recognize me. Who knows? It's just terrible. All right. So here's what I was talking about. So Blue Beetle he grows to the size of a tidal wave, like a skyscraper type thing. So in the bottom left corner, he scoops away a good part of the tidal wave, is what it says, until nothing but a few drops of water are left. So he single-handedly stops a tidal wave with his hands. Like, look, I've been to the beach. I've tried to stop waves before when I was a kid, and the waves are just up to my ankles, whatever. I try to stop them, whatever. Sure, no matter how wide my arms are, the wave still gets around me. I mean, it's not much I can do there. So for this guy to just be scooping away at the tidal wave to get rid of it, I'm like, come on, this guy's big smile on face looking like a goof. Again, Like, I'm sorry, the writers just made it too easy for this guy to get picked on. I'll move on because you guys getting tired of hearing me ramble on about Blue Beetle and the ridiculousness that is. All right, this big book of the week, we got Captain America Comics number 41 is from Timely, is the August 1944 issue. It's a big book of the week, right? Because you got a big start, and clearly this has not had any kind of page reduction because it says 60 pages of action in full color right on the cover. And it's an Alex Schomburg cover, so clearly lots of action, lots of good detail. Captain America and Bucky shooting at people, lots going on. Yep. So Captain America and Bucky join the French in fighting against the worst killers dressed as, I didn't really do a good job of describing this one, but bear with me. Captain America and Bucky join the French in fighting against the worst killers dressed as beasts as part of a campaign of terror put on by the Nazis. So in Nazi-occupied France, the Nazis decide, hey, this will be fun. What we'll do is we'll go to the nut house, the insane asylum for the criminally insane, and we'll take out all these guys, worst murderers, worst killers we can find, and we'll dress them up in these ridiculous like costumes. They look like beasts and demons and stuff, and we'll let them loose on the city so they can kill the French people. And then we'll just ignore them and pretend like, oh, what do you French people, what are you complaining about? I don't see anything. I don't know what's going on. Meantime, they're sort of controlling and, egging on these killers to make sure that they're killing them and driving the French people nuts. Anyway, Captain America didn't like it and came and put a stop to it. Human Torch and Toro put an end to the Nazi spies using an innocent merchant marine to carry secret information for them. So the Nazi spies were using an innocent merchant marine that was being seduced by a woman, and they put a little code in some sort of locket, and then he'd carry it back and forth across the ocean. He didn't even know he was carrying these messages. Captain America and Bucky capture a convict during a prison break, and he's executed using the electric chair. Then the prisoner's brain is taken by the prison doctor for experiments. But the brain takes over the doctor's thoughts and gets him to take revenge by murdering the people who wronged him. A bit crazy. So another sort of horror type story. These guys seems to be, at least this Captain America comics, there seems to be at least one good horror type story. I mean, even the first one with the killers dressed as demons was sort of on that, along those lines. And then Captain America and Bucky investigate a supposedly haunted building after all the tenants have been chased out by threats and murder. And then the owner was killed. They said he killed himself, but he wouldn't have jumped off that building. Anyway, it turns out they discover a school for criminals, and it's operating inside the building. So they scared away everyone so they could operate the little criminal school without having any hassles, anyone bothering them. So for this book, we have a recent CGC 5.5 sale from November of 2020 for $2,040. So that's your big book of the week. Biggest sale out of all the 10 books we're looking at today. And the next one up is Captain Marvel Adventures, number 38. This is from Fawcett, August 1944. I do like this cover. It's a fun cover. I mean, the story inside relating to this cover wasn't as great, but if I was a little guy with a dime in my pocket and I was walking by a newsstand, I would have picked up this book, see what was going on. Okay, so in this issue, you have the Missing Face Contest Part 3. This is what it's talking about on the bottom there. So you're supposed to put all the pieces together from all the last couple issues. They had this Missing Face Contest. So you're supposed to cut out all 3 pieces and determine, and so you can see what the villain looks like. And then it's a naming contest for this villain. And there's $2,000 in prizes. Captain Marvel meets the man nobody except for his dog likes, and he certainly lived up to his reputation right up until his death. So everybody hated this guy, and he even kicks his dog a couple times in the story. Man, it's terrible stuff. So no wonder no one liked him. But anyway, he lived up to that reputation right up until his death, and Captain Marvel tried to help him out, but just wouldn't have it. Captain Marvel helps work the land after some crooks sabotage the farm equipment in an attempt to get the farmer to sell his farm. And after that, Captain Marvel meets the Chattanooga Ghost, who is a misguided teen trying to do good deeds, which is what you see on the cover. So he's not like some crazy, nasty villain. It's just a teen dressed up in a costume trying to go around and help people. But unfortunately, he was judging a book by its cover and was trying to kill people just because they look shifty when they weren't shifty. Finally, Captain Marvel consults on a movie about Mr. Mind, where the real Mr. Mind is causing mayhem. And this is chapter 17 of 25 of that serial. You have a recent CGC 8.0 sale from August of 2020 for $260. All right, next up, Captain Marvel Jr., number 22 from Fawcett. This is the August 1944 issue. Kind of interesting cover. I like it. Got lots going on there. Oh, I see, I see lots going on, but it's got some good details in there. Colors could be a little better, but overall, no, it's a good cover. Now, this is the first 36-page issue. It's the first 36-page issue that's down from 44 pages. And in this story and this issue, you're down to 3 Captain Marvel Jr. stories from 4 previously. So Captain Marvel Jr. helps his friend prove that the speed of the motorboat he invented by installing in an old steamer, and it wins the race. What? Proves the speed. Yeah, because his buddy Sylvester Jones invented a brand new type of motor that can make boats go really quickly. So he was supposed to be in some sort of race for speedboats, but his boat got sabotaged. So he ended up putting the motor on an old steamer, and that steamer flew. And then Captain Marvel Jr. teaches a boy to be strong and self-confident. Simple enough, right? And then Captain Marvel Jr. follows a news reporter covering a murder, and 2 innocent men almost get lynched and hanged as the mob is led by the actual murderer. Dun, dun, dun. So you have a recent CGC 6.0 sale from January of 2020 for $144. Now, this book seems to be on the rare side, certainly in terms of graded books. There's only 9 on the CGC census for this one. All right, Detective Comics number 90, DC August 1944, is the first 52-page issue, and that is down from 60. Not the greatest detective cover, but it's an interesting cover nonetheless. Batman and Robin uncover a scheme by a traveling riverboat show where the performers loot the town in between acts. For this book, you have a recent CGC 5.5 sale from March of 2021 for $550. Not too bad for Detective Comics issue. Fair cover, no crazy villains. All right. After that, we have Flash Comics number 56 from DC, August 1944. Also page reduction. First 52-page issue down from 60. And his cover's okay. It's got some interesting things going on. It's okay. I mean, it doesn't really stand out to me as anything too fantastic, but you really got to look at the Flash's jaw. Sure is square. Goodness. Now, I'll circle back to that later. So the Flash and Winky, Blinky, and Nod travel to a remote island because they heard there is a tree that produces sap, which cures malaria. And they encounter thugs and cannibals. So you can see those are the cannibals on the front there. Winky, Blinky, and Nod. You got a thug, bottom left corner, and in between Flash and the guy he's knocking his lights out is a woman who's pretending to be their white goddess and tries to control the cannibals. Johnny Thunder heads to Hollywood looking for Peachy Pet Johnny Thunder heads to Hollywood looking for Peachy Pet after her very young manager had her take the place of a chimp that was supposed to be shipped there. And then Hawkman thinks he has a scientific cure for rash emotions, and unknowingly works with a quick-tempered crook to curb his anger. A recent CGC 8.5 sale from December of 2020 for $1,560, which is actually not a bad, I'd say that's a pretty high price for this kind of book. Good deal. All right, so here's a couple fun slides here. First one, I thought I'd highlight one of the pages. If you look at the bottom couple panels with Jay Garrick on it, geez, that guy's jaw couldn't get much more square if you tried. I just thought it's fun. I know it's the style of the art. I get it. I'm just saying that is a seriously square jaw. Let the square face flash. Why not? All right. Following that, I don't know why. This isn't a Hawkman story. This panel stood out to me. I don't know why. I got a bit of a laugh out of this. Gave me a good smile for sure. I just thought it was a clever line. This is my elevator dance. I come up and you go down. I thought this is a great line. Wouldn't that be great? Like, really great line in like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or action movie from the 80s. That'd be great. I'd love to see that on a big screen somewhere. This is my elevator dance. I go up, you go down. Come on. No? All right. All right, well, after that is Master Comics 53, and that's from Fawcett. That's August 1944. Definitely a busy cover. Lots going on. You can see a lot of wonderful things going on there. And then Radar again is the first story in this issue. And Radar heads to South Africa to quash an uprising of the local tribes being led by the Germans against the English. And there's a little tidbit here. They disclose that people of other countries and races have joined the ranks of the international police force. So Radar ended up working with recognizes him as an international policeman, and she lets him know that, hey, I'm also part of the international police. He's like, oh, he's all impressed. I guess I'm not alone. It's great. And Captain Marvel Jr. takes on the role of nanny to a spoiled brat, teaches him to use his creative inventions for good. So a bit of a fluffier story for Captain Marvel Jr. there. You have recent CGC 8.5 sale from April of 2019 for $230. All right, last comic book on the list for this episode is National Comics number 43. This is from Quality. It's August 1944. Another awesome Jack Cole cover. It's not my favorite Jack Cole cover, but I still like his style. So it's a great one. So Quicksilver is a target for revenge after a gangster he's sent to death row isn't hanged properly. And apparently, according to the laws going on in this issue, or I don't even know if that's in the real world, you can't apparently hang a man twice for the same crime. Maybe it's like that double jeopardy kind of rule. So anyway, they tried to hang him. The rope broke, didn't work out. So like, we can't just hang him again. Anyway, so he went on a little bit of a spree, kind of hurting people. Now, this issue is interesting. You have a recent CGC 9.6 sale from May of 2017. So almost 4 years ago for $550. Now, for like a 9.6 Golden Age book, $550, I would say that is extremely low based on today's market standards. So if this book came out for auction again, I'd expect that it would go for a lot more. What's also interesting is that there are only 5 of these books on the CGC census. And interesting to note, the lowest grade out of those 5 books is a 9.0. So they all range from 9.0 to 9.6. So you have 5 very high grade comics for Golden Age books, all high grade. Very impressive. I mean, if you were to have a low grade beater copy of this graded just for fun, you could really skew the census. I thought that was really interesting that these guys were that there's just so many high grade copies of this. They're only high grade copies of this book. Great. All right, so that's it. Those are the 10 issues for the week. Keep an eye out in a couple of days for that Go Collect article. I mean, hopefully maybe it'll draw you to this. Maybe you'll read the article and then you'll watch this episode and be like, oh man, he was just talking about that. And it'll be a whole Inception kind of thing. Or And then so I talk about it, and then you have to go back and read the article again. You come back here and watch this episode again, and then it'll just go in circles, right? Who knows? All right, so enough of that silliness. I guess I'm just in a good mood. And I'm looking forward to reading the next 10 issues for the next episode. It's going to be great. And I hope you have yourselves a good week. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. It's a crazy world these days. Bye-bye.